Hi, this is Tom Stone. Welcome to this demonstration session. We're going to be working today with Susan Bornstein, and she's volunteered to have this session. So I'd like to welcome her and have her tell us a little bit about what she'd like some help with, and then we'll get started. Susan, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Susan, and I worked with you and even studied with you in 2010. And the first thing I worked on was panic, because I was panicked all the time. And in 3 months, even before I went to study with you, panic was done. We got that one pretty well mastered, it was gone. And in the last couple of weeks, it's back.
10-year results. 10-year results, not too bad. It just needs a tune-up. Yeah, probably just need a tune-up. That's great. Okay, well, wonderful. Let's see what we can do to, the thing is, when you clean house, you don't just clean house once and then don't clean house again for 10 years. Now, I know you've been using the techniques because you learned them. You took some training and you learned them. But there's ways of upgrading that and accelerating that to help ensure that things like this don't come back. But I'll tell you more about that later. There's some new stuff, new developments that are really cool. So the panicky feeling, describe a little bit more to me what happens.
Well, it feels like beyond electricity in the body.
Oh, wow.
Huge, intense blast of, I don't know, light, something, I don't know, like very intense agitation. And I've gotten pretty good in the last couple of years of just being like really in this creative space. And I ask my creative process what I'm going to do next, and it tells me and I do it. And that's how I dance my life. I can't even hear my own voice anymore when I'm panicked. Okay. It's just all clouded with this electricity or something. And It was stimulated by the fact that my life is going really well. And that I've got a higher income now that I'm 65, and I can save some money and do some stuff I want to do, and freaked me out completely. And so my daughter's having a little trouble, and I'm going to myself, oh, that's it, I'll have to give her all my money, which is not true, and everything's going quite well with her and stuff anyway. But yeah. That was interesting too, because she's changing and beginning to respect herself more. So I'll help her a little, but she's going to be fine. But I'm in my head, I'm going, that's it. I can't do this. I don't deserve it. I don't know. I don't even believe this stuff anymore. But it's obviously still in me somewhere.
Yeah.
But that was the stimulus trigger thing.
Something's there, and something triggered it for sure. Well, maybe there was something that was not so noticeably traumatic, but got to you in some way. Who knows? The other thing is things can just kind of accumulate over time, smaller things, and then, kind of reach a tipping point. So in any case, we don't have to figure it out intellectually. What we want to do is just solve it energetically, because as you've heard me say, I'm sure back when you took the training, I've said it hundreds of times, every situation in life, there are always two things. There's the circumstances, and then there's our reaction. And the circumstances are whatever they are. Sometimes we can change them, sometimes we can't. But for most people, the circumstance and the reaction are so intertwined, they're kind of like locked together, and it feels like one thing. And it's hard for people to get them separated. This is mainly because pretty much everybody tries to approach the problem intellectually, trying to understand it, and thinking that understanding is the way to resolve it. But it turns out that understanding, for example, if you have a virus on your computer, understanding everything about it doesn't get rid of it. You have to actually run the antivirus software to get it off your hard drive, right? So what we want to do is not just understand about this, but we want to get to the real true root cause of it, which is going to be energetic or experiential. Now, fortunately, we don't need to know why it's there or how it happened. What we want to do is to be able to just resolve the energy. As you know from taking the training, we resolve the energy of the problem, because it's the energy that gives life to it as a problem, okay? So what I'm going to do is first check from what we call the where to start chart. I used to call it the levels of life, probably back when you took it was called the levels of life, to make sure that approaching it at this level of consciousness, where the pure awareness techniques work, is an appropriate actually best way of approaching your current situation. This is the best way. Yeah, this is the best way. Okay. And as you know, I'm going to use muscle testing throughout. So we let your body's wisdom, experiential wisdom guide our whole process. Okay. So best way to approach this is to have the intention to identify and resolve like the true deepest root cause level of this panicky kind of feeling that you get. And this is the best way to do it. Yeah. And so there are some, we used to call it core technique. We now call it the in technique. Same technique, just change the name to make it easier to translate into Chinese, for example. and we call the C technique, we call it the out technique. So we have in and we have out, and they're very descriptive of what we do anyway. So those are the new names. So we're going to first identify the in technique energies. There's one, two, only two of them. That's good. Okay, just two. And some out technique energies, one, two, also only two. Great. This is very doable. We can do this today. You're going to feel tons better. I can guarantee you, you're going to feel tons better. All right. So clearly, your intention is to be free of this panicky feeling. So we don't have to clarify that anymore. You don't have to like make an intention statement, which is our kind of normal.
I can clarify it, I think, a little more.
Okay, go ahead.
In the last couple of years, my mom was sick, and I was dealing with my mom, and then came that eclipse last August. My dad was a pretty enlightened guy, and he predicted this time all my childhood and told us we were light every night at dinner. And I brought it up to my mom, and she screamed at me like she used to scream at him every night. Shut up. We can't handle this. You're the only person who thinks like you, and if you never expressed yourself, the world would be a better place. Meanwhile, he was telling us all about how wonderful life was going to be and how the world is changing in our lifetime. And so anyways, I don't talk to my mom that much anymore, but, but it did remind me of every night at dinner. It was like my father was all light and my mother was all shut up. And that was, yeah, I didn't really remember that before.
Very interesting. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with these in technique energies. This is the most appropriate way to start, yes. So what we're going to do is to, that the energy may or may not be directly associated with the panicky feeling. We don't know, but we're not concerned about that. Whatever it is, we're going to get to the intention is to get to the real root cause, okay? So if you close your eyes, it works better with your eyes closed. Yeah, you can take your glasses off too, be more comfy. And I'm going to guide you through what we now call the locate technique. We used to call it GPS. And this is for being able to find the energy. And you need to just simply adopt an attitude that when the body shows it to you, you're going to allow yourself to feel it. Because what we need to do is to complete some incomplete experience from the past, or maybe some cumulative incomplete experiences from the past. Doesn't really matter. But there's some conglomerate energy there that is a kind of internal, localized, tight knot or ball of energy. And so we want to create a condition that makes it really easy to access and feel that. And so we're going to use this thing we call a locate technique. And it starts by just closing your eyes as you've just done and just sort of noticing what's present. And what's present is you can hear my voice, maybe some other sounds in your environment. You can also feel your body sitting in a chair or wherever you are. And the other predominant thing that happens is you'll have thoughts coming and going in your mind. And just for purposes of this procedure, what I'd like you to do is to just notice the thoughts, just kind of observe them from a little bit of a distance. That means allow yourself to just kind of watch them, not get so absorbed in them. And the way to do that is to just for now not be concerned with the meaning or the content of the thoughts, but just allowing yourself to just sort of watch them kind of like a movie from a little bit of a distance. And as you do that, you'll be able to notice that these thoughts are occurring in a background of kind of emptiness or quietness, silence. It has to be quiet in the background or you wouldn't be able to hear your thoughts. And that quietness turns out to be your own awareness. It's the very awareness you're using to have these thoughts, experience everything that you're experiencing. And it's easy to access that background of silence by just looking off to the side of your thoughts and noticing that the quietness is there in the background, in fact. It's analogous to looking up at the sky on a partly cloudy day. You can see the sky, you can see the clouds. The way you see the sky is you just look off to the side of the clouds and it's right there. It's always there in the background. Very much like that, the thoughts are kind of like the clouds, the background of silence is kind of like the sky. It's always there in the background, and to access it, all you have to do is just kind of look off to the side of the thoughts, and there it is. So as the next thoughts are coming, start looking off to the side of the thoughts, noticing the background of silence. And of course, it won't take long for another thought to come along and kind of interrupt the silence. And that's completely okay because we're not trying to get rid of the thoughts. We're just noticing them and then looking off to the side and noticing the background of silence. So each time a new thought comes, look off to the side, notice the background of silence. So you won't tend to stay in the silence for a long period of time. It'll just be kind of glimpses of it. And that's totally fine. You start to get a feel for it. And I know you've done this in the past, so this is not unfamiliar to you.
Okay, I feel better. We can be finished now. No, I'm kidding.
Well, we'll make a little bit more of an insurance policy than that. Okay, so you start to get a sense of the quietness, then you can simply tell the body, show me the first in-technique energy, it's traumatic or emotionally painful energy, that's at the real root cause of these panicky feelings that I get. And you just kind of have that thought and just kind of let it go. And pretty much immediately the body will show you some place inside that feels like some kind of tight, constricted area. In any sense of anything?
Yeah, between the heart and the throat. And the chest.
Okay, upper chest. All right, good. Okay, this is the one we're looking for. Yep, that's it. Good. So notice that there's a kind of field of energy there. It's not just a point. There's a sort of field of energy, and in the field, there's a place where the sensation is stronger than elsewhere. It's typically right in the center. You have a sense of that? Yep. Okay. Yep. So just gently put your attention right on the central strongest part of the energy. Don't try to make it go away. Don't try to do anything to it. Just simply notice it. Now at first, this will make it seem stronger than normal because we're pretty deeply habituated to try to just avoid feeling these things, so we don't normally let ourselves feel them. But today we're doing something different. We're purposefully allowing ourselves to feel it because the reason this energy is still there in your body is that when you had some traumatic experience or some accumulation of traumatic experiences, this is just developed into a pattern of energy that's just been too much to handle. Couldn't handle it at the time, or if it's accumulated over time, you just haven't been aware that that's been happening, and so you just haven't been able to complete it. So just allowing yourself to notice the central, strongest part of the energy is the beginning of the process of starting to complete the energy that's being held there. Now, the intensity level may seem to stay more or less the same for a time, but after a while, if you just keep innocently noticing the central, strongest part of the energy field, it will gradually start to soften a little bit and become less intense. And when that happens, you can let me know.
Well, it's less intense, more like a burning or something.
Okay, good. Less intense is good. What this means is it's possible now to bring your awareness a little bit closer to whatever remains of the energy. So do like you're on Google Maps or something, click in for a closer view, sort of magnifies it. This will bring the seeming intensity level back up a bit, and that's perfectly fine. What we want to do is be as close to the energy field as we can be without it being overwhelming. So just adjust the distance, get as close as you can. And again, just stay focused on the central, strongest part of the energy field. And after a time, it'll soften some more. And when it does, each time it gets softer, get a little closer to it again. You keep adjusting the distance. Now, as you get closer and closer, it continues to soften more and more. Just before it's gone, the experience will start to change. It'll feel like the energy is kind of breaking up or dissipating and dissolving. Some people describe it as kind of like the fog burning off in the morning sun. It just sort of evaporates. It's wonderful. And so that'll happen for a little bit, then the energy will just kind of drift away or move away or just kind of vanish, dissolve. And then you'll be back in that same silence we were just in a few minutes ago. How are you doing?
That's pretty much gone.
Hey, terrific. That one's completed. Excellent, good job. Oh, I love working with people who've done this before. It makes it so easy. Good job, Susan. Great, let's go right after number 2, huh? You for it? Okay, great. So go ahead and go back into the quietness. Very easy to access because you were just there. If you need to, look off to the side of the thoughts and get a few tastes of that quietness. And when you're ready, let's go for the next one.
Okay, it's kind of my solar plexus, like down here.
That's it. Yep, that's the one. You got it. So do the same thing in technique. Notice the central strongest part. Adjust how close to it you are. Get as close as you can get without it being overwhelming. And then just notice the central strongest area and get closer as it gets softer.
Almost gone. It's like it's moving like all the way down my body in a way.
Okay, good. Great. Just hang in there until it's all gone.
Yeah, I would say that's gone. It's down in my feet. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, gone.
That one is gone. Excellent. Very good. There's still more of this in-technique energy at the basis of Susan's panicky feeling. No, we got them. All the in-technique energies are completed. Yes, good double check. Okay, great. So now we're ready to move on to the out-technique energies. And typically when you have this kind of panicky, anxious kind of feeling, typically these are projections of possible negative outcomes onto the future. You know, you were mentioning about it, you know, like concern about your daughter and like over concern and things that you were kind of making up, right? Like it's going to be bad. Yeah. So unfortunately, welcome to the club. It has about 7 billion members. Everybody is deeply conditioned to project possible negative outcomes onto the future or possible positive outcomes onto the future. But all of those projections are made up in the mind. They're not like perceiving some new reality that you could actually step into. They're things that the sort of ego, mind, intellect are making up. And the reaction is actually a reaction to the story, not to the circumstances. Because, for example, the feeling of that some impending doom is coming, you know, is not that you're perceiving something like that, but that you're just make up the story that something bad might happen, and then you start living inside the story and believing your own story, but it's all made up in the mind. So it's all kind of an illusion.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so we want to stop doing that.
I can do that with the thinking that I left my stove on when I'm not home, knowing that I didn't, and be terrified that my house is going to burn, and I know it isn't, and like I can do that.
Exactly. So we want to break this habit to whatever extent that we can. And I've got some interesting stuff I'll tell you a little later about how to help ensure that that really happens. But for the moment, what we want to do is go after whatever the energies are that are causing you to project these possible negative outcomes onto the future. Okay? Now, the illusion is that this is somehow helpful, that it's actually going to, prevent something bad from happening. But it doesn't. We worry about it. The timing shows up. It doesn't happen. And, it didn't happen. But then we do it again. It's like we don't learn from that, right? So it's a deeply scripted, essentially bad habit. And we want to see if we can break the habit. So it's optimal to do it by taking something particular that Susan is anxious about. No, we'll use locate technique again to get access to the appropriate energy. This is the best way. Yeah, okay. So I'll guide you through this one. As you know from your past experience, these are quite different energies. They kind of radiate out from the body and fill up the space around you and kind of create this cloud or aura of energy that you're engulfed by. So you remember that. Okay, so let's go for it. Go ahead and close your eyes again and go back into the quietness by looking off to the side of your thoughts. And when you start to have a sense of that quietness, then you just tell the body, okay, body, I'm ready to feel this cloud of energy. Show me the Out Technique energy cloud that is at the root cause of this panicky feeling that I've been having. And pretty much immediately, the body will show you. And this kind of energy feels very different than the internal, localized energy of the in-technique traumatic, emotionally painful energies that like the ones we did. These tend to be kind of softer, vaguer, and they radiate out from the body and just fill up the space around you and kind of surround and engulf you. You get a sense of the first one?
Yeah, it kind of comes from my chest and just radiates out like a big sun star thing.
That's it. That's exactly it. This is exactly what we're looking for. Yeah, that's the one. So the instruction is very simple. We just go see how big this aura or cloud of energy is that you're generating. So just let your awareness move out into the space around you further and further. And just keep going until you find the outer reaches of the energy field where it sort of fades off into the surrounding quietness. And we're interested in accessing that quietness. When you get a sense of it, just let me know.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, very good. So go a little bit deeper into the quietness by just noticing the area of the quietness that's a little further away. And this will help to make the distinction between the quietness and the energy even more clear. And that's easy to do. So then we go much deeper into the quietness, quite far away from the energy field. And allow yourself to notice how simply vast and limitless the quietness is. You get a sense of that?
Mm-hmm.
Nice place to be.
Mm-hmm.
No panicky energy out here. No, very nice. Okay, as you look back at the cloud of energy that you were inside of just a few moments ago, what's happening to it?
It's shrinking, like in the body, like that, through my arms.
Okay, very good. Shrinking is,
Shrinking back into the point it came from or something. I don't know.
yeah, something like that's happening. Very good. Okay. Now notice that there's some kind of story running in the background. It's some form of a projection of a possible negative outcome in the future. And now that you're outside the cloud of energy, usually it makes it much easier to see that that story's been kind of running. You get a sense of that? It's like the prediction of something bad might happen, something like that.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
anything, something, anything. It's like it's an empty field. You could fill it up with anything.
yeah, exactly. Like something bad could happen, right? Yeah, and this is caused by something bad actually coming out of the blue in the past and happening in an unexpected way. So it's perfectly reasonable that you would make up a story like this. But the problem is you start living inside the story as if it were true, and then this contributes to this panicky feeling. So we want to dismantle this particular one. And the way to do that is now that you're outside the field and you can see the story, we want to challenge whether allowing the story to continue to be in your awareness is helping you in any way. So let's say it's not. No, it's absolutely not. So is it a good investment of your life energy to keep this story in your mind?
No.
Absolutely not. Right. And notice now that you're outside the cloud of energy, that you feel a little bit more at choice about whether you just run this story by habit or whether you consciously just decide not to give it any energy anymore.
Yeah,
And
choice. Choice is a
yeah,
good thing.
yeah, choice in this case is a good thing. And when you choose not to give this story the time of day, not to let it have any presence, no real estate in your awareness, the moment you decide to not give it any energy, not even allow it to formulate into words, and in that moment, the rest of the energy is going to collapse back into nothingness along with the story. That's back into the nothingness out of which you created all that in the first place.
Yeah, that's really good. But then comes up probably the second energy to deal with is like, now what do you do? If you're
That's
free, what do you choose?
yeah. So this second one is a kind of discomfort with uncertainty.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
the
a
reason
vast,
for
endless field to choose from. Yeah.
yeah, the reason for that is again because the reason we cleared the in technique energies first is because those were the energies, the residue, or I like to call it the residue of the of the old traumatic experiences, which for some reason recently got triggered. Who knows why? We don't have to know why or care. We just want to get rid of them. So for some reason, those got triggered, and that's because there was still inside of you some of this old painful traumatic energy. And it's quite reasonable and natural to create a story of like, I don't want that to happen again, because things did kind of come out of the blue. You didn't know it was coming. And so, it's understandable that we make up such stories. Okay. The problem is that they're not helpful. And if you look at this one, you can see it's not helping you to avoid problems to keep that kind of story running. It doesn't give you an extra dose of positive, confidence or awareness of what's coming. It doesn't help at all. In fact, it actually gets in the way.
Yeah.
And so what we want to do is to challenge this story and see whether there's any usefulness to it whatsoever. And the answer will be no. It's not actually helping.
No. Nope. Doesn't help at all.
And the experience of the uncertainty, what we want to do is now to get outside the energy field of the uncertainty so we can really experientially be in that place where it really doesn't matter. Okay, so let's do that. Go ahead and close your eyes. Go back into the quietness. You already have a sense of what it is. So this kind of fear of uncertainty, we try to mitigate the uncertainty by making up some story that something will or won't happen. And it kind of engages us and keeps sort of distracting us from the uncertainty. But the uncertainty in itself, although it has a bad rap because some bad things have happened, uncertainty isn't actually positive or negative. It's just uncertainty. And so if you get outside this discomfort, this uncomfortable feeling of the sort of generic fear that something bad could happen,
Or nothing will happen.
or nothing will happen, so nothing positive, that's a kind of form of negative in a way.
I guess.
Yeah. So if you get outside the energy field, we'll be able to see things much more clearly.
Okay. Goes
Yeah.
way up there, but yeah, I'm outside now.
That's it. That's it. Just noticing it, and you're kind of there. Okay. That's good. So go a little bit deeper into the quietness, a little further away from the edge of that fear of uncertainty cloud. And then go much deeper into the quietness, quite far away from the energy field. Notice you can just keep on going. There's no end to it. There's no boundaries or walls. It just goes on forever. So just notice how limitless and vast the quietness is. Get a sense of that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty nice place to hang out. Very good. No, in a way, it's kind of uncertain out here, but there's no negativity or fear associated with that uncertainty.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, it's a who cares, and like, bring it on. Whatever. Very good, Susan. This is great. So notice now as you look back that there has been a story running of a kind of like, again, a fear-based thing, like, well, it's uncertain, something bad could happen, something like that. So again, notice that this story is not preventing negative things from happening, keeping it in your mind. It's only making you miserable, basically. So we really question the value, the usefulness, even the validity of whether you really should allow this story to continue to occupy your awareness. And clearly the answer is no, it's not helping at all. So the moment you see that, it becomes much easier to just let the story go completely. Don't give it any more energy. And the moment you do that, the remaining energy in the story collapses back into nothingness, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Terrific.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Good work. Okay. There's still more out-technique energy we need to deal with for this topic for Susan. No. So both in and out-technique energies for this particular topic are complete. Yes. There's something more we need to do in order to stop this problem. No. I think we got it there.
Wow. That works way faster than it used to. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of gotten a little bit accelerated, definitely.
Yeah.
Now,
That's really nice.
That's terrific. Wonderful. So,
Thank you.
you're so incredibly welcome. So you're going to notice now over the coming hours and days, weeks forward, that it's going to be not so easy to work up this panicky feeling.
Okay.
Thank goodness. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do is to check in with you in a couple of weeks and see how you're doing. Make sure we really got it.
Okay.
Okay. So we can set a time for that, which we can do by email or whatever.
Okay.
Also, I just wanted to let you know that, what we've done is like 10 years ago or 8 years ago, whenever it was that you took that training, you sort of learned how, and we did sort of a house cleaning, clean out some of this stuff. But when you're living in a house, you don't wait another 8 or 10 years to clean it again.
Ah,
And I know you've probably been using the techniques from time to time, but I want to tell you about something that I recently developed that's really wonderful. I'm so delighted and excited about this. You know, I'm always pushing the envelope, trying to develop this work and make it better and better. And I recently, you know, I've been in China now for about the past 3.5 years. I'm setting up a network of inner greatness centers here, and I've been training hundreds of people how to do this work. And recently I started a program, and about 35 or so people enrolled in it. It's a program for people to become presenters of my workshops and trainings, so that I can have them going on every month in all, you know, cities all over China, because, you know, I'm only one guy. I can only be in so many places at once, like one place.
and it's a big country.
Yeah, working on that being everywhere is a special ability, but I haven't got it down yet.
Yeah.
In any case, this is a very practical way of multiplying myself. So I wanted these presenters, when they get up and speak, I wanted it to be that they would really be like true living examples of this work. So that it doesn't really matter what they say, that the people in the audience might not be able to articulate it, but they can feel that this person is like emotionally really clean. They can sense that, you know. And even if they can't describe it, they sense it, and they have this feeling like, you know, whatever that person has, I want some of that. Right? So that's the kind of quality of the state of being that I wanted these people to have. So a couple months before we started the actual live training events and the presenting itself, I created this program. It's called the Freedom Practice. It took a little while to have the name come to me, but it's a good name because it really gives you the freedom. And what this is this is like the cleaning the house every week instead of waiting for another 10 years. Right? And it's a way of being able to integrate the techniques into your life with a kind of special quality about it. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit about it so you understand, because I think you absolutely will love to do this. Okay, and interestingly enough, the timing is very good, because the program for the basic training of it starts in a couple of days. So it couldn't be better. So here's how it works. You start, there are 2 phases to it. Phase 1, you start by, in the morning when you wake up, you spend about 20 minutes. You go into the silence, just like we were doing today. And you don't do anything, you just wait. And naturally, you'll start having thoughts. Now, you already know how to do muscle testing, right? You know how to do muscle testing, right? So each time a thought comes, you muscle test for which kind of thought it is. Now, it turns out there are 4 kinds of thoughts that influence our decisions. We have practical thoughts like making a shopping list, getting directions to go someplace, you know, noticing what time it is. Oh, I got to, you know, whatever. Those are just practical thoughts. There's no emotional charge to these kinds of thoughts. We have lots of them. They're useful. We need them. Okay, they're good. The second kind of useful thought is intuitive thoughts. And these are the ones where we don't make it up. It just sort of comes to us that, oh, that's a cool idea. I could do that, you know, and then we pursue it. These are also, they don't have any emotional charge. They're just like it's just kind of our inner knowing speaking to us. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. So those are the good ones. Now, there are 2 that are not useful, and those are ego-based thoughts and emotional pain-based thoughts. Okay? Now, the ego-based thoughts have that out technique cloud of energy to them typically, and the emotional pain-based thoughts have that tight inner, you know, in technique kind of energy to them. And the problem is that everybody's been having all 4 of these kinds of thoughts all their life. And because they've been having them all their life, they just all seem sort of normal, and they don't make any distinction. Oh, that's an ego-based thought. I need to do something about it, or I need to not take action on it. So people take action because there's an emotional charge to these kind of thoughts. They have a tendency to kind of engage people and get them to believe in those things, and they take action based on those thoughts, and they never work. They never work. Because they're all made up in the mind. They're just illusory. Okay? But they have this charge to them that makes them feel very real. So most people don't make any distinction. They make lots of costly mistakes by taking action on the wrong kinds of thoughts. Okay? And so, every successful person, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Albert Einstein, Winston Churchill, they all say that key element of success is trusting your intuition. But when you can't tell your intuition from these ego and emotionally pain-based thoughts, then you don't know what to decide. Mm. It just creates a kind of up for grabs. Sometimes some of them are going to be good if they're intuitive, but mostly the emotional pain and ego-based thoughts kind of mask your ability to even hear your intuition, because intuition just speaks quietly in like one voice, typically just once. And if it's, oh, no, that won't work, like you have some ego-based reaction or something. So the purpose of the freedom practice is to clean up the ego and emotionally pain-based energies that are at the basis of those thoughts, so that number one, you can recognize them and not act on them. And number two, that you can get access to the energy that causes those thoughts and wipe it off your hard drive, get rid of it completely so it stops doing that. Now, what I've seen in these 35 people, most of them, I'd say maybe about 30 of them or so, who are really doing it regularly, is they automatically move into kind of a phase 2 of the practice, which is they start to recognize during the day, they become much more sensitized to the presence of these kind of thoughts as they're happening during the day. And they start to recognize, oh, that's probably ego-based thought. Let me check. So they muscle test for it. Sure enough, it is. They stop what they're doing. They go into the quietness, do the locate technique, find the energy, and resolve it right on the spot. And they keep doing that, and they do it increasingly because they're much, much more aware, right? And everybody's got 2 huge databases of these kinds of thoughts because you've been accumulating this stuff your whole lifetime, okay? Yeah. So there's no lack of stuff to work on. Now, it does rapidly get less by virtue of doing this because you're cleaning it out so fast. Okay? But this is keeping the house clean every week instead of, waiting for 10 years. This is like how to do that. So this is like training in true emotional competence, like getting really, really good at even more thoroughly integrating these techniques into your life. Okay? Mm-hmm. So that's the practice. I'll send you the information with the links to the web pages that describes it in detail and what the options are for participating. And if you'd like to do it, I highly recommend this. What I'm seeing in these people, just HSE, the work that you studied years ago, people have been doing that pretty vigilantly. They've been making incredibly rapid progress compared to people who are not doing anything. So that within, a year or two, they start having some experiences of beginning to live with the pure awareness, that beautiful, expansive, lovely quality you were just explaining, with having that be more integrated into their life. Well, I'm seeing the results in these participants in this presenter program, the Freedom Practice program. I'm seeing results in a month or two that I didn't see for a year or two with people doing it the normal way. So this is like a 10 times accelerator at least. Okay? You would love this. You really love it. I'll send you today, a little bit later today, I'll send you an email with the links to the pages that describe it. And there are several options you can take, different discounts and things like that. And if money's an issue, just let me know. I'll work something out because I'd love for you to really get the value of this. This would be really good for you.
All right. Wow. Sounds wonderful.
Okay, great. So I'll send you that, and let's when I do that, I'll suggest some possible times in a couple of weeks. Your schedule is fairly flexible?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. So I'll send you some times that look like they'll work for me. And we just have to watch the whole time zone thing, because for you now it's probably, let's see, it's about 10 here. It was about 7 there? Yeah, approximately that. Okay, so I'll see if I can suggest some times that'll work for both of us. We'll find a time, do the follow-up. In the meantime, it'll be great if you jump. I'll be talking with you more, and then because there are 5 webinars. It starts on the 10th, which is a couple days from now, my time. I think 3 days for you. So it starts, and you got every evening about 90 minutes for 5 nights, and then a lot of it will be review for you. But that's okay, because there's some refinement and some extra details. And then immediately we start the freedom practice. And we have an instant messaging program that we use, and people daily they make a little report. And they say, oh, this came up, I did this technique, it's all resolved. Now that doesn't require much mentoring. I just send back a little emoji that says, okay, you did good. But what I can do is I can see when people aren't quite getting it. If they have, I say, you might check that out. I think you got a little ego-based thought going on with that one. And the person, oh yeah, okay, they check it, and then they get, because see, you're inside the influence of these things, and you can't see it from inside, just like with the out techniques we just did. You can't see it when you're inside the energy crowd.
Yeah.
But I can see it, both because I'm outside of it and also because, this is my field. I know this better than anybody. So it allows me a daily opportunity to mentor you, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing.
Okay. Yeah, I believe you.
There's nobody on the planet who knows this stuff better than me.
Yeah, very powerful indeed.
All right, I'll send you that stuff. I think you really will enjoy being in that. And that'll be great because we'll have regular contact. And it's also an opportunity to share your experiences, to see what I'm saying about other people's experiences is also very valuable. It's all in a kind of group instant messaging program called WeChat. And we'll send you the information how you get signed up for that as well. It's used here in China. They've got like about 1 billion subscribers.
Oh.
You can't get by without it in China. It's amazing.
Okay.
But it's used all over the world. All right, Susan, great.
Well, Thank you very much, teacher.
You're so very, very welcome. Lovely to see you again. Great to work with you. Nice to be reconnected. And I'll definitely get you an email out shortly. And we'll see you very soon.
Thanks a lot.
You're so welcome. Take care. Have a
Bye.
lovely day.
Love you. Bye.